ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
The LouieTeeNetwork is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be? For me, you mean Louie T. Welcome to Divisional Round Overtime. Chiefs, Bills, classic AFC football. What we've come to know and love from the best conference in the National Football League over the last decade plus. They did not disappoint. This is probably the best rivalry in the NFL right now. We get it every year. We're going to get it again next year. These two teams won their respective divisions. So no matter what, we will see Bills Chiefs in the regular season. But for whatever reason, the Bills own the Chiefs in the regular season, but Josh Allen cannot seem to beat Patrick Mahomes in the postseason when it matters the most. Now 0-3 against Mahomes in the postseason as the Buffalo Bills fall 27-24 to the Kansas City Chiefs, the Super Bowl defending Kansas City Chiefs, who go on the road for the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era and win his 16th career playoff start, first on the road, and they get it done. And we're getting into that Tom Brady territory now. I'm starting to travel and wander into that Brady territory where I kind of feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone again, where I got to stop doubting Mahomes. I used to do this with Brady all the time. This is the time. I swear, this is the time. Brady's not going to get it done. They're finished. And we're nowhere near the end of the Mahomes era and them winning and winning big. We're just getting started, as a matter of fact. However, it feels like we've been doing this for years and years because he's been winning ever since he came into the league, essentially, and been given the keys to the Kansas City Chiefs car. You know, only his rookie season did he not play extensive football. The rest of the years, he's been in the AFC Championship, make it a 6th consecutive year that the Chiefs have been now in the AFC Championship. It'll be the first of those 6 years, however, where they will not host the AFC Championship game, but they don't care. They just want a shot, and they're going to get it on the road at Baltimore next week. What a gutsy performance by the Chiefs. And again, I just got to stop doubting Mahomes. I was talking to Boss before this game, and he went with the Chiefs, and we were talking trash back and forth. And I told him, I made the declaration after the Eagles lost, when the Bills lost in overtime to the Eagles, that the Bills were going to the AFC Championship. This was their opportunity. They had to exercise demons to get there, and they were unable to do it in this game. We'll talk about the Bills a little bit later on in the show, but to the victors go the spoils. And so we're going to talk about the Chiefs getting it done 27-24 to advance to their 6th consecutive AFC Championship game. Let's start with Patrick Mahomes. I thought he was just splendid in this game. Neither quarterback was asked to do too much, but I thought Mahomes really handled the pressure of playing on the road for the first time. That's all he heard this week. I thought he handled this Bills defense with relative ease. Kelsey came to life, which was a good sign for them early in this ball game because he had struggled down the stretch, had not scored a touchdown since that Eagles game, or since the Eagles game, rather. It was week 11 or something like that. It'd been a while since he had tasted pay dirt. So for him to score not once but twice in this game and have a huge impact was big for the Chiefs. Valdez-Scantling stepped up massively as well. They were going to need someone, and I've been talking about needing somebody outside of Kelsey and Rashee Rice to step up. That guy was Valdez-Scantling in this game. He made a couple of big catches, one down the sideline to start the second half, where his face mask probably aided him more than his damn hands did, but still, a catch is a catch is a catch is a catch. Then the other deep shot down the field where he actually used his hands to corral the football. He had a big game from a yardage standpoint, and so that was huge. Mahomes spread it around as he usually does. Never put the ball really in harm's way. I can't even recall a play where the Bills were nearly, in range to pick it off. Maybe there was one that I can't recall, but I don't recall that ball ever being put in harm's way. He was smart when he decided to use his legs, had a nice big run in the second half that set up a scoring opportunity. He was spectacular. I think he only had 6 incompletions, if I'm not mistaken, 17 of 23 for 2 and some change, couple of touchdown tosses, really managed the game extremely well, used his legs when they needed to be used, kept them in manageable down and distances. They ran the football extremely well. Let's talk about that because both teams, my biggest surprise in this game had to be the fact that both teams ran the football with such success. I mean, I was shocked at how easily both teams were able to run the football in this football game. The Chiefs ran it with relative ease. Honestly, the only thing that stopped them probably from winning this game comfortably was them, trying to get in. Look, I advocated for this. I don't love it down by the goal line, especially when your lead back, Isaiah Pacheco, is averaging about 7 yards a pop. I would prefer not to get cute down inside the 5-yard line. I'd just give it to number 10 and say, hey, big fella, go ahead and get it in there. But, some guys overthink things. That frustrates me. As a fan of a team that had a coordinator from Kansas City, I see a lot of the shit that we did. And now I understand why we did the shit we did. We just didn't have Mahomes and Kelsey and those guys to bail us out. So I get it now. Like, they do a lot of the same ignorant and stupid shit that we do. They just execute it better. And so they get away with it. But like that cutesy shit down by the end zone, trying to do all of this, trickeration and toss it to Mecole Hardman for what? He had already fumbled once. He fumbled again. This time you lose it. And why not just give it to Isaiah Pacheco? You're killing them on the ground. Absolutely murdering them. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is killing them on the ground. Pacheco is killing them on the ground. Mahomes is killing them on the ground. Why don't you just run it with Isaiah Pacheco? I don't know. Not for me to decide, but that kept Buffalo with a shot in this game. But the ground game was just so impactful for Kansas City. Both teams really, but in particular Kansas City, as we saw when the game needed to be iced away, they didn't even waste time. That first run got him about 9 by Pacheco, and then he finishes it off with a 2-yard run and sends the Bills home permanently for the season and ices it for this Chiefs team as they go on the road and get it done. Defensively, oh, man, I marvel at what Kansas City has done this season. I've talked about their defense since week 1, even in a loss to the Detroit Lions. I thought that the defense was just fan-effing-tastic, and they've been that way all season long. And, I talked about leaning into the defensive mindset, right? Like, this is no longer, for this particular season, for this particular playoff run, this isn't Mahomes' offense carrying the load. This is Spags' defense out in front leading the way, and that Mahomes and Andy Reid and company had to learn how to follow. They're used to being the ones to lead the way, to guide this team in whatever direction they're going to go. I said, you're going to have to find a way to defer to the defense because that's the strength of this team. Now, for the first time, probably since the Bears game earlier this season, I saw a Chiefs team offensively that was capable of carrying the team if need be. It felt like it was going in that direction when we had the 3 or 4 lead changes in a span of 6 minutes. It felt like it was heading in that territory where this offense is going to have to win the game, and this could end up being a 37-34 shootout. It was heading in that direction, but the defenses started to buckle down. Mistakes started to be made. Penalties started to be called. Fumbles and things of that nature started to take place, and all of a sudden, the scoring came to a screeching halt. However, this defense, and I got to bring this stuff up because a lot of this I was not privy to. I knew that this was one of the best defenses in football. I've been touting it as such all year long, but to hear some of the statistics, it was mind-boggling. It was jarring. And it all made sense, and it all made everything come together the way that it should when you watch a defense play the way the Chiefs have played this season under Steve Spagnuolo. I've talked about Steve Spagnuolo and how good of a job he does with this defense and how he's got this defense on a string. They blitz. They're all in sync. They play tight coverage when they go man-to-man. They stop the run well enough. They did not tonight, however, but all in all, they don't give up big plays. So some of the statistics that just blew me away. They haven't given up a 300-yard passer all season long. Wow. I mean, in an NFL that is literally built on passing yards, throwing the football, et cetera, to not have a 300-yard passer given up all season long, mind-boggling, okay? Haven't given up 400 yards of total offense in a game this season. Wait a minute. What? What? I mean, are you serious? Or are you bullshitting me right now? These are crazy statistics. And the one that knocked my socks off completely, haven't given up 30 points all season long. That almost seems unreal in today's NFL. That almost seems unreal in today's NFL to not have one off game where special teams F's up and you get a block kick, or your offense, somebody fumbles, it gets scooped up, run the other way, or it sets up an easy scoring opportunity for the opposition. Your quarterback throws a pick six. Your quarterback throws 2 pick sixes. Your quarterback throws an interception that leads to easy points. You know, a fumble on a kickoff, a muffed punt. Anything stupid can happen to lead to points. And there are a myriad of ways that you can give up 30 in today's NFL and do it in a jiffy. And to have not done it a single time this season, are you kidding me? It just speaks to just how good, how stingy, and how disciplined they've been this season. I can't say enough about this Chiefs defense. And for sure, I thought that the Bills were going to eclipse 400 total yards of offense, because at that time when all of this information was given to me, we were still halfway through. We still had half of the third quarter to go, all of the fourth, and the Bills were already at 297 yards. So I'm thinking they're going to amass 3 yards, and they were still driving at that time. They're going to amass over 103 yards over the final, 22, 23 minutes of this ball game. That didn't come to fruition, however. They put the clamps down on them. I said, well, they're giving up 30 today, right? At that time, the score was 24-20, right? Bills were up 24-20. They're giving up 30 today because the Bills are going to continue to score. Bills didn't score another point the remainder of the game. And so all of that remains intact. And again, hats off to this defense, because the Chiefs offensively did what they needed to do. They held up their end of the bargain. Special teams held up their end of the bargain in today's game. But when the defense was called upon at the end, really in the fourth quarter in particular, when they needed them the most, stop, force field goal, miss. Game, set, match. I sent out a tweet after, I think it was the Chiefs scored to make it 27-24. I sent out a tweet, something to the effect of, the team who gets a stop first, because no one had stopped anybody in the second half to that point. All right. Team who gets a stop first, or the team with the ball last with an adequate amount of time left is going to win, or whomever makes it to 50 first. That's the tweet I sent out. And I was being facetious with the 50, but it was just me making light of the fact that neither one of these teams could get a defensive stop. Felt like old Chiefs Bills, not the shit that we've seen this year, specifically from the Chiefs defensively. But did things change right after that tweet? I don't think there was matter of fact, there wasn't another point scored in the entire game. The Bills went for it on a fake punt. That was unsuccessful. They got the fumble by Mecole Hardman, which gave them life. They got stopped yet again, right? And then they were able to drive it down, into field goal range. And Allen had a shot. We'll talk about that in a second. But again, credit the Bills, the Chiefs defense. Chris Jones, bull rushing their tackle, Deion Dawkins, into the lap of Josh Allen, not allowing him to step into that throw. If he has the space necessary to follow through and step into that throw, that is a touchdown to Khalil Shakir in the back of the end zone. But he did not have the space because of Chris Jones. That's what we call a game wrecker, okay? That's what we call a game changer, right? Guys that you have to identify and guys that can take over a game and win you a ball game. And that play right there won't show up in the stat sheet, but that play saved the game for the Kansas City Chiefs. Without it, that's a touchdown. And I can't say that Mahomes with, think at that point of the game, it was about 1 minute and 54 seconds or whatever left. I can't say that Mahomes with 2 timeouts doesn't go down and get a touchdown of his own and win the game, but it's not going to be easy. But that's been one of the bugaboos of the Bills this season, is that defense not being able to hold on to leads late in ball games and allowing teams to drive the football down the field. So who knows what would have happened, but never came to fruition because that Chiefs defense did what they've done all season long. And then, of course, the big miss. And as Jim Nantz eloquently put it, 2 of the worst words that any Bills fan can hear, wide right, for kicker Tyler Bass. Big win for the Chiefs. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't see it coming. I was flat out wrong about this particular game and how I didn't think, as a matter of fact, I didn't even see this many points being scored. And they didn't make it to 30, but I thought this was going to be 24-20. And I know that doesn't sound like it's that far off, but that's still what, 7 more points total in the game. I thought it would be somewhere in that 24-20, 23-20 type of ball game. This thing easily could have gotten to the 30s had there not been mistakes on both sides. But wow, what a win by the Chiefs. That was just a complete ball game by them. The defense stepping up at the end, the offense moving the football for pretty much 3 quarters before kind of having, the breaks put on them in the fourth quarter. And then special teams, making enough plays, to get it done. So just an all-around quality win on the road by a team that you just can never count out. As long as they got Mahomes, as long as Andy Reid's still their coach, even though I didn't love some of the shit that went down, including burning a timeout after what had happened? Something happened, a penalty, matter of fact, that benefited them on a 4th down. They would have been 4th down. They would have had to punt. They got a penalty. I didn't love the call, but, I'm not crying over spilt milk. They ended up punting on the next series of downs. But to have to burn a timeout in that situation, I don't love that, right? I don't love the call to Mecole Hardman down inside the 5 that ended up in a fumble. Don't love that. But ultimately, they got it done. The run game was exceptional. Mahomes was phenomenal as usual, and the defense was outstanding. And they get it done 27-24 on the road and advance to their 6th consecutive AFC Championship game, due the Kansas City Chiefs. You go to the Buffalo Bills, and this one it's a bitter pill to swallow because you finally got these bastards at home, right where you want them. I've said this already. For Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen in particular, those 2 quarterbacks in particular, this was your Giannis Antetokounmpo season. The NFL clouds have opened up. There is a ray of sun that is a Super Bowl trophy shining down from the heavens, and this is your opportunity to go and grab it. And you can't ask for it to be any better. Aaron Rodgers comes over. He could be this year's 2020 Tom Brady, and he gets hurt 4 plays into the season. Joe Burrow, out for the season. Mahomes in that offense, not the same. This is your opportunity to go get a chip. And Lamar Jackson, the Ravens look prime. And I said, Josh Allen, this is your shot, buddy. Go get the chip. And they were right there. And for whatever reason, they just cannot beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. And, sometimes it's just like that. It's the same thing Manning went through with Tom Brady and the Patriots for a very long time before he finally got over the hump. And maybe at some point he will get over the hump and win and beat this team and get to the Super Bowl. But this needed to be it. This felt like the one. And unfortunately, didn't happen. I want to talk about this Bills offense, though, under Joe Brady, because they made a philosophical shift since the change in coordinator. Ken Dorsey was pass happy, didn't give the run game much life, was not consistent with it. And they give Joe Brady a shot he comes in and the Bills lead the league in rushing from the point that he took over until now. That's great. There have been injuries on the offensive side of the football. Gabe Davis, most notably, Bills fans curse his name at every turn that they get, but they missed him today. There were some catches that big game Gabe might have made today that, Trent Sherfield didn't come down with. And for all the talk about Stephon Diggs, that deep ball was right there. He did not catch it. So there were opportunities left on the field that maybe if Gabe Davis is out there, maybe they don't get left on the field. Excuse me. Whatever the case may be. I loved the run game today. Thought it was awesome. Josh Allen is a huge part of that. They had their way, just like the Chiefs did, on the ground. And it didn't matter who was in the game. They were having success. Whether it was Ty Johnson or it was James Cook, or it was Josh Allen. They had success on the ground. However, I don't recall ever watching a Bills offense that was as nickel and dime, dink and dunk as I watched tonight. And I don't want to say that they were almost protecting Josh Allen from himself, because it was working. It was efficient. They were moving the football. For the most part, they were penalty free. So, the fact that they got 4 on first down, 3 on second down, and got into 3rd and 3, there weren't any penalties to make it 3rd and 8, or take that 4-yard gain, negate it, and add 1 and make it 2nd and 11. So they were staying ahead of the sticks. They were staying in manageable down and distance. They were converting. They were running the football effectively, and they were throwing the ball. A lot of these completions were short, around or behind or at the line of scrimmage. Not a lot of stuff pushing the ball vertically down the field like we're accustomed to seeing from Josh Allen. They did take a couple of shots. As I mentioned, Sherfield dropped one, Diggs dropped another. So there were some opportunities, but they were few and far between. There was a lot of nickel and diamond, man. A lot of swing passes, a lot of quick screens, a lot of hitches and quick outs. And, I'm used to seeing Allen be a little bit more aggressive, attacking the football field vertically. And I'm not saying that it was the wrong method to attack this Chiefs defense, but you're almost asking the offense to have to be perfect when you move the football in that way, when there are no explosives. Everything is controlled and methodical. That's the old Brady approach, right? Brady would get surgical with that bitch, and he would drop back and he would get 4, and he would throw it again and get 5. And then on 3rd and 2, he'd get 6, and then move the chains. And then on first down, he'd get 3 more. Then they hand it off and trick you, and now they got 5, and now it's 3rd and 2, and he'd get 4 and move the sticks. And then Brady would get 4 on the next first down. Then he'd get you for 8, another first down. And he would just nickel and dime his way down the field. And he was the best that I've ever seen at doing that. You are going to make a mistake. Somebody's going to be open, and I'm going to take whatever it is you give me. I was used to watching Tom Brady do that. I am not accustomed to seeing Josh Allen do that. Now, while that kept Allen out of harm's way, the ball was rarely put in a position where the Chiefs could have made a big play on it and forced a turnover. It also, to me, stunted the growth of this offense. And when they had to throw, it felt, because I watched them nickel and dime their way down the field, when they got into those 3rd and 11s, when they got into those 3rd and long, it felt like they couldn't convert. Because I hadn't seen them throw a 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-yard pass most of the game. Everything was short of the sticks, and then you have to get run after the catch. You got to get a blocker out in front. You got to make a guy miss. I never felt like they threatened Kansas City vertically, and thus they needed to make one of those big plays, and they never did. And it just felt like Josh Allen was a passenger in this game instead of leading the way. And that's not who he is. And that's not what he's capable of, so much more. And I felt like they were babysitting an Alex Smith or Ryan Tannehill in this game instead of saying, hey, we got Josh Allen. Turn him loose. Let him be who he is. Now, again, when the score was 24-20, no complaints. It was working. But I had a feeling it was going to get to a point where he was going to have to drop back and throw. And I didn't have the confidence that I normally have in Josh Allen, because this offense felt somewhat restricted as to what they could do. There were opportunities. And as I mentioned, he's got Khalil Shakir back of the end zone for a touchdown, and he's ready to uncork it. And as he goes to throw that football, Deion Dawkins is being pushed into his lap by Chris Jones, and that saved the game for the Chiefs. That would have been a touchdown. Would have been a touchdown. Also, I don't want this to go as an oversight. Dawson Knox or Dalton Kincaid? Which one did this? I want to say it was Dalton Kincaid. It's one of the tight ends. I don't want to charge it to the wrong person's account and give somebody credit that doesn't deserve it, but I felt like it was Kincaid. It could have been Knox. But on that fumble by Josh Allen, which is the shit that Josh does sometimes, where you go, come on, bro. That's a scoop and score. The game's over. It's 27-24. That defender has a beat on that ball. He's going to pick it up, and they're in the Bills defender, a Bills offensive player rather, in sight. He's going to pick that bitch up and go the distance, and that's how this thing's going to end. And one of those tight ends, and I'm going to give it to Dalton Kincaid. He knocks the ball free out of that defender's hands, and great hustle by one of the Bills linemen. I'm going to charge this to Spencer Brown's account. Comes over, recovers it. That's a great recovery, just like the one we saw from Green Bay last night and Eric Wilson. Excellent recovery. And it kept the game alive. Khalil Shakir, who had another big-time game, really stepped up in the absence of Gabe Davis these last couple of weeks, but really had a really big season, a coming-out party this year. Made some big catches in this game, including the one down by the end zone that set up the final score of the game for the Bills. In a tight window throw. I mean, McDuffie's draped all over him. You can't be in better coverage. And that ball had to be where it was, and that's a tremendous catch. Makes a catch on that fourth down to extend the drive. And, Shakir he was the best receiver in the game for the Bills, which that can't happen. Diggs has to be I thought he would have a bigger game tonight. And he had a chance. He started off well. They got it to him early. He fumbled. Then he had to catch over the middle. I thought he was going to have a big game tonight, and he had a chance. That deep ball could have, really changed things, and he didn't catch it. And I just don't know what happened to him this year, and why they couldn't get him more involved, why they couldn't get him in the end zone, why he couldn't get, back to being what he once was for them. But whatever the case may be, the Bills had their chances in this game. They got nobody to blame but themselves. As far as I'm concerned, the opportunities were there. Right. They're gonna really, really lament some of the missed opportunities in this game. But when it's all said and done, you don't score the touchdown late in the game. You have a chance to kick the field goal, tied up at 27, and a very reliable kicker in Tyler Bass. If you're a Bills fan, it's like deja vu. I mean, Norwood was one of the best kickers in the league at that time, and he was one of the best kickers that year when he missed that kick against the New York Giants. So Scott Norwood all over again. I get it. This one wasn't for the Super Bowl and a chance to win it, but this one was for a trip to the AFC, potentially getting you tied. This one wasn't going to give you the lead or give you the win, but that's brutal, man. The wind literally, you can see that the wind just took that football. I don't know if that was, a fluttering ball that, just tailed off. I think the wind caught that bitch, because you could see the pole, the flags on the pole were blowing to the right. So as he kicked that thing, I think it got caught in the crosswind, and that shit just blew it off to the right. And I felt for him. He sat down on the bench, helmet still on, holding his head in disbelief. And That's a tough one. That's a bitter pill to swallow, but that's what it usually seems like it comes down to with this Bills team when they play the Chiefs. And as you go to the defensive side of the football, they had so many injuries defensively. The linebacker position was ravaged, and you could use that as an excuse as to why they couldn't stop the run tonight. I'm not going to give them any excuses. They were decimated in, the secondary, specifically at the cornerback position. I mean, they pieced together some stuff out there and gotten it done, but they gave up some big plays tonight, right? Kelsey got loose a few times, and that could have been a lack of communication, especially the touchdown, the first touchdown where there's nobody around Travis Kelce within 5 yards in any direction. Looked like a blown coverage there. I think two guys went with the out route. He goes in behind. They flooded that zone. And just poor discipline on the part of those defenders and poor communication. And so that's what happens when guys are out of the lineup, though. And you got guys subbing in and other guys playing positions that they don't normally play. You get miscommunications, you get things like that. But the biggest disappointment for the Bills defensively in this game was the inability to stop the run. The Chiefs were just gashing them on the ground repeatedly over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And if you're going to beat a team like Kansas City, you can't let them be as balanced as they were in this game. You've got to take something away. As tough as it is to defend Mahomes, and as crazy as it sounds, make Mahomes in this iteration of Mahomes with Kelsey, not having a year that we are accustomed to seeing from Kelsey, with no true number one wide receiver except a rookie that they're leaning on. You got to make Mahomes beat you. You can't allow the run game to be as much of a factor as it was tonight and expect to beat them. And it was because of that run game that Mahomes could lean on. He didn't have to force the issue. He didn't have to go out and be Superman. He could just play within the rhythm and the flow of the offense and the game. He could take what they were giving him, and when those opportunities presented themselves, he could insert himself as a playmaker, like he did on the run down the sidelines, or like he did when he stepped up and found Valdez-Scantling going across the field towards the left sideline. That is what giving up the run does, is it allows Mahomes to not have to do more than he needs to. And if you want him to make a mistake, if you want that opportunity to present itself, you got to force him into feeling like I got to do it myself. And with them running the ball as effectively as they did tonight, not going to happen. Just not going to happen. So I thought the lack of stopping the run puts you in a tough spot. And then I've been saying this, it feels like for 6-7 years now. I mean, as long as Josh Allen has been chasing a chip, I've been making this statement. They can't get to the quarterback. Whether they blitz, whether they rush 4, they can't get to the quarterback. Did they sack Mahomes in this game? I don't think they did. The question is, did they even come close to sacking him? I know they didn't sack him in this game. The question is, did they come close to sacking him? And I'm not talking about Mahomes rolling out to his left and throwing the ball out of bounds left-handed. I'm not talking about Mahomes rolling to his right and throwing it away with Von Miller and another defender bearing down on him. I'm talking about Patrick Mahomes in the pocket, dropping back. There's nowhere for him to escape, and he gets devoured. That didn't happen once in this game. They cannot get to the quarterback. They've never been able to get to the quarterback, it seems like. And this sounds crazy, but their best pass rusher in the last 7 years has been Jerry Hughes. He's been gone for like 3 years now, it feels like. They were supposed to have all these young guys step in, Rousseau and Basham and all these guys that they drafted, Epineza, and they signed Von Miller, and they brought in, and you know what? Gumby was pretty good. He was pretty damn good for them when he was there. Is he even still there? I don't think he is. I think he's gone now. But they still can't get to the quarterback, and that's frustrating. A lot of things fundamentally wrong with the Bills, but they had some injuries that they dealt with, specifically at the linebacker position. They were super thin. A.J. Klein hurt his ankle in this game. Dotson came in banged up. He left the game even more banged up. They were hanging on for dear life at the linebacker position. No Terrell Bernard in this game. So they were already at a disadvantage, and the Chiefs took full advantage. And defensively, you needed them to step up. Somebody make a play. Somebody do something. Nobody did anything. And unfortunately, they fall short. And another season, another disappointment for the Buffalo Bills as they dropped 27-24 to the Kansas City Chiefs. I thought the three last teams standing in the AFC were the three best teams. And obviously 1, 2, and 3 seeds. So, right? But that wasn't the case, obviously, in the NFC. It was amazing that the Bucs could have made it to the NFC Championship game. No matter who made it out of the two teams here, it was going to be a great matchup, and it was going to be one of the best teams in the AFC. So when it's all said and done, we probably got the two best teams in the AFC for most of the year this year, even though the Chiefs haven't been the Chiefs. They still were one of the best teams in the AFC. So it's probably what it really should have been. I still think Buffalo would have been a really good matchup for the Baltimore Ravens, but they didn't get it done. And now the question is, can the Ravens exercise some demons here because they've always played Kansas City well, going back to the days where Kansas City was explosive and dynamic on offense. They've always had issues with Baltimore, always. But, they always were competitive, and they have no issues beating Baltimore either. So I think the last time these two teams met, though, was on a Sunday night, and Baltimore beat them. There could have been another game between these two since then, but I just very vividly remember a Sunday night game. The Chiefs had a shot and to go down and score, and they were moving the football, and they were almost in field goal range. And I think Adafi Owe forced a fumble of one of their running backs. I want to say it was Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Ravens recovered and won the football game, and it was like 33-31 or something like that. And they held on for the victory. And Lamar and Harbaugh were so pumped, right? Because that's a team that always seems to find a way to get them. If I'm not mistaken, that was the last time those two teams played in the regular season. That was Adafi Owe's rookie season. So what year is he in? Is this his second year, or is this his third year? Whatever the case may be, should be a hell of a matchup. 1 seed versus the 3 seed. Chiefs on the road, going to M&T Bank. That'll be a dandy. If I'm the Ravens, I didn't want to see the Chiefs. I would have preferred the Bills, just because I know these boys, they like Bruce Willis, man. They die hard. You're gonna have to really kill these boys to get them out of there. And this is the kind of defense that can slow Lamar's ass down. Although that Willie Gay injury might come into play because he's one of the faster linebackers and players in general on that defense. But at the linebacker position where you need somebody to kind of spy Lamar, keep him under control, Willie Gay would have been a really good candidate to do that. Don't know the extent of that injury. He did not return to the game, so that's something to keep an eye on. But they got enough team speed defensively to hold Lamar down. They're aggressive enough to frustrate him, similar to what the Texans were doing in the first half of that game. I see this as a really good matchup and probably the biggest test for the Ravens offense all season long. So they haven't seen a defense like this all year long. And they play in a division with really good defenses. They haven't seen a defense like this all season long. So that should be a fun matchup. But anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section. See what you guys have to say. What a game, right? This is why I love football, man. action that we got here on Sunday made up for the pretty much first 4 days of playoff football, right? The 3 last week, the Saturday, Sunday, Monday last week, and then the Saturday this week. Even though the nightcap with the 49ers and Packers was pretty good. But this Sunday was really good action, start to finish, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. Knew this game was going to be down to the wire, barn burner, excellent stuff, and they did not disappoint. AJ Meehan, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Or thank you for being a member of the MOBB for 18 months. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, the NFL going to find a way for the Chiefs to somehow beat the Ravens. Watch. So you sound like a conspiracy theorist. I am not. I don't think there's any, fix being in. There's no finding a way for the Ravens to lose to the Chiefs. If the Chiefs beat them, it's because they outperform them. Now, if there's 12 penalties called on the Ravens and 2 called on the Chiefs, maybe there's something we can explore and discuss there. But generally, how these things go, people are going to always feel like it's rigged. The NFL is rigged. When these outcomes don't go the way that they want them to, it's rigged, right? Almost like back in the day when you were playing a game and you lose, man, you cheating. No proof. You just can't be this good all the time. So you got to be cheating, right? That's the only explanation people have. Bronco Kid, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I'm sick and tired of the Chiefs. I'm begging for the Ravens to take care of business. Yeah, that's got to be rough. I would liken it to the Chiefs being like the Cowboys in the NFC East and just winning all this time. Well, I grew up in an era where the Dallas Cowboys were the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, they were winning almost every year, and the shit was sickening. So, luckily enough for me, I'm like 30 years removed from that. So I don't, those nightmares don't happen very often for me anymore. But for you, it's one that you wake up to every day, right? You go to sleep, another nightmare, you wake up and the Chiefs are in the AFC Championship game again. Good luck, man. The Ravens, I think, have a shot to do it, but if I were a Ravens fan, I was rooting like hell for Buffalo. Just saying. That defense with all the injuries, that is not a great defensive unit, not like Kansas City's. They don't have Patrick Mahomes. They haven't been to 6 straight or 5 straight AFC, now 6 straight AFC championship games. They haven't been to 3 Super Bowls. I would have just preferred to have taken my chances with the team with no experience going that far, except for 1 loss to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game in the Buffalo Bills. Now you're dealing with a team that's comfortable in this environment. Being on the road isn't going to phase them one bit, clearly, as we just saw. They know how to win in these pressure-packed situations. They know how to get it done, and they got a quarterback that is unflappable, and they got a defense that has been impenetrable this season. Good luck. You're going to need it. After doubting the Chiefs, I still kind of feel like I'm going to go Ravens, but I feel like if I go Ravens, the Chiefs are going to win the game. That's going to be a tough one. That's going to be a great game. Both games are going to be really good, I think. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, man, I feel for Buffalo. I know I was down on them, but they look like they figured it out after the coaching change just to go out like that. Yeesh. Yeah, man. And, I was one of those fans from the outside looking in that felt like it was scapegoating what they did to Ken Dorsey. Not that he didn't deserve to be fired, but he wasn't the only reason they were struggling. And they just essentially pinpointed him as the main culprit. But they started to win after that, right? So there's that. The bottom line is I didn't love how they attacked the Chiefs, but maybe they felt like that was going to be their best mode of operation against that Chiefs defense, because they're not going to give it up over the top, but they did get a couple of opportunities. But again, nobody was complaining when it was 24-20 and they were up. I just always felt like this is going to come down to Josh Allen being the throw. And right now, I don't have a lot of confidence unless they somehow find a way to continue to get 5 or 6 or 7 on these swing passes and these little screens on first down. Because for all the success they had on the ground, the Chiefs, like, I was waiting for Buffalo to come to one of these tight formations, because what they were doing is they were bringing the extra offensive lineman. They would bring the receiver in, and he would be sort of offset like an H-back, and they would have him out on that wing. And I was like, when are you going to play action fake off of this and try to hit him with a big one? Because they were loading up the box. They would put 8, sometimes 9 in the box when they would get that big package from Buffalo. And I was like, when are you going to take the shot to back them off? And it never came. They kept running into these loaded boxes and getting nothing late in the game. And I'm like, you're going to force Allen to have to throw it. And I don't have any confidence because you haven't been driving the ball down the field with any success nor regularity. And it ultimately came down to them needing to be able to throw it late, and they couldn't do it. Push it down the field late, and they couldn't do it. But to your point, from where they came, they were playing playoff football 8 weeks ago. They couldn't lose a game. They were 6-6 and like 12th in the AFC. And we're literally 1 foot in, 1 foot out the grave. And from that point on, they played playoff ball. Won their final 5 games of the season. Won their first playoff game, and had a shot here. Just didn't get it done. That's a bitter pill, like I said, to miss and to have those words uttered wide right. It's a bitter pill to swallow for Bills fans. Kevin, the PRF. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, for all those fans saying I'm too young to remember, Bills did their younger fans a solid, unfortunately. You know what, Kev, you ain't shit for that. you ain't shit for that. The young fans did not need their version of wide right. Now, again, it pales in comparison. We're talking about a kick that would have won them the Super Bowl. I think it was like Super Bowl 20, right? We're talking about a kick that would have literally won them the Super Bowl. But this is a hell of a consolation prize for those who didn't see that one. So it's just a nasty runner-up. Red Wing 01, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Chiefs are turning into the new Patriots. And I kind of made that statement. I mean, they're not kind of. They are the new Patriots. And I'm starting to hate it. Uh-oh, here we go. I was waiting. I think this happened from a lot of fans like maybe 2 years ago. Like my sister, she has no rooting interests when it comes to the Patriots. She's a Falcons fan. I've never seen her root against a team more than I saw her root against the Chiefs on Thanksgiving, or excuse me, on Christmas Day when they lost to the Raiders. I was like, did I miss something? Did the Falcons game come on? Are the Falcons playing on Christmas? Did I miss this? She's like, no, I'm sick and tired of their ass. Oh, she doesn't cut. So she's like, I'm sick and tired of they butt. They need to lose. I'm sick of seeing them. I was like, God damn, is it really like that? Yes. So we're getting to that point where we're starting to get that Chiefs fatigue. Not we. I don't mind it. They don't. So they're not like the Lakers. They're not like the Yankees. They're not like the Patriots or the Cowboys, of a certain age. They're not a villain. They're not to me, I liken them to the San Antonio Spurs in the NBA. How can you not like Tim Duncan and Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili and Greg Popovich. How could you not like those guys? They don't bother nobody. They go about their business. Now, with this particular group, maybe Mahomes, always begging and, kind of gesturing might rub you the wrong way. Maybe his family members, his wife, Brittany, or his brother, Jackson, maybe they piss you off, right? Maybe the Taylor Swift shit. I know that's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. I'm not in that group, but I can tell you, when FanDuel put out a tweet, if the Kansas City Chiefs win a Super Bowl, should Taylor Swift get a ring? And I saw all of these players like, bro, what the F? I'm like, y'all about to turn the Chiefs into a villain behind this woman. She didn't even do nothing. She didn't ask y'all to keep putting the camera on her every time Travis Kelce or the Chiefs do anything. Y'all decided to play this up. Y'all decided to do this. Y'all about to turn them into the villains. And they didn't even do nothing. But it's getting to that point now where people are just tired. I'm tired, boss. Sort of like Golden State. Like, they became unlikable because Klay Thompson is a dick and Draymond Green is a bully, right? And he's a fake tough guy. So they became easy to not like. But ultimately, they're a good basketball team. They play it the right way. It's hard to not like Golden State, except the players on the court made it easy to not like them. There are no players like that on the Chiefs, honestly. So I don't have a problem with the Chiefs. It's good football. They do it the right way. They don't cheat. They're not assholes. I find them very refreshing, but would you like to see some new blood? Sure. But it doesn't bother me. They're not in my conference. I think it would be very troublesome if they were in my conference. It's nothing worse than having somebody that you just can't get the hell out of the way in your conference. Sort of like in the NBA when LeBron was coming up and you're like, hey, it don't really matter what you do in the East. You still got to go through LeBron and you're not going to beat them. So you're not getting to the finals. Like that shit sucks because there's a gatekeeper there and there ain't shit you can do about it. Sort of like when the Patriots were running things in the AFC, they were the gatekeepers. And you knew if you wanted to go to the Super Bowl, you're going to have to go through New England. You better be strapped because them boys got guns that go brat, brat, right? Well, now the Chiefs are the new gatekeepers in the AFC, and the Ravens have the home field advantage. So they got all the ammunition that they need. They had the best defense in football in a number of statistical categories. The Chiefs are like, oh, so your defense is supposed to be the Don Dada, huh? Well, we're going to bring our shit to town, and we're going to match wits, and we're going to see who defense do what, right? And we're going to find out who's who. But the Chiefs been the new gatekeepers. They've turned into the new Patriots, as you've described. And I said at the top of the show, Mahomes is starting to turn into Tom Brady, where every time I doubt this man, and I don't doubt him very often, okay? This is probably one of the first times where I looked them in the eyes in the Super Bowl last year. I picked the Eagles, even though I thought they could win. I still thought that the Eagles felt like a team of destiny and they were going to find a way to get it done. And they jumped out to that lead early and it felt like it. But I haven't doubted him very often. But every time I do, he does some shit like this and totally redeems himself. So he says, they're really going to make me root for Baltimore. What is that? What he said, is that what it has come to for a lot of people? Look, the last two super chats, or 2 out of 3, or 3 out of 4, or 2 out of 4, rather. You and Bronco Kid both said the same thing. Come on, Ravens. So you see where it's headed. Neither one of you, mind you, are, well, Bronco Kid has every right because he's a Broncos fan, and the Chiefs are one of his main rivals. But you don't have a dog in the fight, right? You just tired of seeing the dang on Chiefs on TV winning all the damn time. So anyway, Red Wing 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, whoever the NFC champ is, please win it all. It's a tough ask, man. I really think the Super Bowl is coming out of the AFC, honestly. Especially if San Francisco can't generate a better pass rush. They lose. First of all, if San Francisco doesn't win and it's the Lions, the winner is definitely coming from the AFC because the Lions can't beat. They beat Kansas City. I guarantee you they will not beat Kansas City again. And we already saw what happened when they played Baltimore, and they do not want that smoke again. So you better hope it's the Chiefs, the 49ers, rather, that wins that game. Masterio McManos. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, do you think we can beat the Chiefs next week? Of course. Sure. What do you mean? You asked that like you're going to be 8-point underdogs when the spread comes out for this game. You're the number 1 seed in the AFC for a reason. You've got the most wins against winning teams in one season in NFL history, and a lot of those games weren't even close. You're equipped with everything you need to go out and win this football game. Number 1 scoring defense in the NFL, number 1 takeaway off defense in the NFL, number 1 sack unit in the NFL defensively. You can get it done. Now go get it done. Easier said than done playing against that Chiefs defense, who's just as good as your Ravens defense. But I've said it already. This is Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson's time. Well, Allen's gone. So now it's Lamar's time. If you can't take advantage of this particular season with all the injuries and all of the different opportunities kind of opening up for you, another MVP trophy, don't want it to go in vain this time. If you can't win it this year, I don't know if you're going to ever win it. Like, seriously. This is the time to get it done. Because in some of these teams, some of these young teams, they're going to figure the shit out. Other teams who don't have quarterbacks are going to figure that shit out eventually. Joe Burrow is going to be back next year. You don't want to leave it to chance, man. This is it. Get it done. Gignac, the Big Mac. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, these playoffs showing me that Burrow was never number 2. Are you insinuating that Burrow was 1? I need further clarification on that, man. Over communicate clarity on this one, Gignac. I need to know what you're trying to say here. You got to spell it out for me. So Aggie P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, Bills can't beat the Chiefs. Packers can't beat the 49ers, and the Cowboys can't beat the Packers or the 49ers. Crazy how that works. The way the game was going in the fourth, you would think the Bills would win. When they took the 24-20 lead, I felt confident that they were going to get this thing done. And literally, I think the Chiefs might have got into scoring position in like 3 or 4 plays. Mahomes had that big-ass run. I think there was like 1 catch, Mahomes' big-ass run, and then like 2 more runs, and I think they might have been in the end zone. I mean, it happened so fast. I was like, God damn. Okay, well, offense, just do it again. But, like, see how quick that was and how explosive that was and how dynamic that was? And then everything for the Bills just seemed like it was coming so hard. They had to work so hard. You know, James Cook for 4, James Cook for 3. You know, Josh Allen to Khalil Shakir for 5, first down. You know, James Cook for 2, James Cook for 4, 3rd and 4. You know, Dawson Knox for 5, move the sticks. Yeah, and then they do it all over again. James Cook for 3, James Cook for 3, 3rd and 4. Khalil Shakir for 5, move the sticks. Yeah, and then first down. Oh, they tricked us. They didn't run it this time. Stephon Diggs for 2, James Cook for 8, first down, and do it all over again, right? Like, it just, everything was tough. Everything was 12, 13 plays, and it's hard to live like that in the NFL. It's hard. You need some chunk plays. They just weren't getting enough of them. I don't know what it is about certain matchups, but you've heard it before. Styles make fights, and for whatever reason, certain teams know how to play specific teams. It just is what it is. And you can't explain it. And I think psychologically there is a little bit of that there, but to me, that only comes into play, particularly when these two teams have had battles over the years. For instance, the game we just watched, Chiefs and Bills, I think there is a psychological advantage that the Chiefs have over the Bills because it's the same players. on both sides, minus like a Tyreek Hill, minus on the Bills side. No Gabe Davis in this particular game, but it's the same players, the same dudes that's been losing to Kansas City in the playoffs every year, and the same guys that have been getting it done against them in the regular. They're all still here. So when shit starts to go sideways in the playoffs, don't think that Josh Allen, don't think that Sean McDermott, don't think that Deion Dawkins, don't think that these guys that have been here for all of these games, don't start thinking, oh shit, here we go again. So I don't know, man. I do think there's something to that. When a team has your number, there's something to that. Eric Sunderland, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, SOB, same old Bills. Damn. For the first time I heard the SOL with the Lions, when Tirico said that's what they used to say in Detroit, SOL. We know SOL to be an acronym for something totally different. That was the first time I heard same old Lions. And this is the first time I'm hearing SOB, but same old Bills. Can't beat the Chiefs. Zoinks! Scoob! That hurts, man. Christopher McLaughlin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Chris writes, hey Lou, hope all is well. Likewise, as always, Chris says 2 questions. 1, how do you see McDonald scheming up the Ravens D to stop the Chiefs? 2, who is your coach of the year this season between Stefanski, Campbell, Ryans, or someone else, and why? So I'll go in reverse order and answer your second question first. The coach of the year for me would be Dan Campbell. Now, I don't think he's going to win it. I think that distinction is going to go to Kevin Stefanski. Having gone through what they went through from a quarterback standpoint and all the injuries, they had the most lost games to injuries this season of any team in the NFL. To be on your 4th quarterback by season's end and not only make the playoffs, but do it in a fashion that allows you to rest your starters in week 18 speaks volumes to the job that he did this year. And I think he's going to be rewarded for that. That'll be his 2nd time winning head coach of the year. I think he won it in his 1st year as well. However, I would have given it to Dan Campbell because, as I mentioned, the expectations were through the roof for the Lions this year. People were really, really kind of jumping on the bandwagon after the 9-8 finish last year. And the expectations not only were met, but they were exceeded. They're in the NFC Championship game. I know the playoffs doesn't matter. That doesn't, factor into the voting and what ultimately is the outcome. This is a regular season award, but my goodness, what the Lions have done, what he did, essentially setting the tone in week 1 with the fake punt on the very first possession of the game against the Chiefs in week 1 on the road on banner night, speaks volumes. And they haven't looked back since, and they've been one of the best teams in the NFC all season long. And I just think Dan Campbell deserves that distinction, but I think it's going to go to Kevin Stefanski. Now, as far as what Mike McDonald will have to do to stop the Chiefs offense, this ain't the Chiefs offense from, last year, or 2 years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago. That was an offensive juggernaut that was dropping 40 on everybody's skull. Just be you. Like, honestly, I've kind of set the table for that. 1, you got to stop Isaiah Pacheco. You can't let them run the football, have success on the ground, and allow Mahomes to manage the game essentially and insert himself when he feels necessary. Make him feel like he has to be the primary reason they win. And you may get him to do something, outside of his, comfort zone and may make a mistake or 2, right? They've done a really good job in Baltimore of mixing up looks, bringing pressure. They manufacture pressure. They blitz. They make it look like they're blitzing. They get free hitters. Guys win one-on-one matchups. Justin Madubuike has been winning one-on-ones all year long. Jadeveon Clowney is winning one-on-one matchups. They've got a lot of speed on that defense. They're going to make it tough. They're going to be physical with those receivers. There isn't a number one. This is the game where I think that comes into play because they're going to get up, they're going to press, they're going to get in Valdez-Scantlin's face, disrupt him at the line of scrimmage. Rashee Rice hasn't seen a group this aggressive this season. They're going to get in his mix, make him uncomfortable, similar to the way that the Raiders did to them and beat them in Arrowhead on Christmas Day. They out-physicaled the Chiefs. They beat them up. I'm talking about they literally went to the Chiefs, banged on the door. Chiefs put their eye up to the peephole and they kicked the bitch open, knocked them down, went in their house, and just started ravaging all over the joint, right? Just absolutely destroyed and pillaged their home. Like, I'm not saying that's what the Ravens are going to do, but that's the kind of game you want it to turn into. A physical affair that the Chiefs really don't want. Because we've seen them physically be beat up before. If I'm the Ravens, I'm watching that Raiders game. That's the game I want to watch to see how I want to treat them defensively. They forced fumbles. They picked Mahomes off, ran it back for a touchdown. They beat them up. That's the game I want to watch and see how they got into Mahomes' head, how they were able to out-physical them, beat them to every ball, beat them to the punch, and just manhandled the Chiefs. I've never seen them manhandled like that before. I lied. There were games where I've seen teams physically beat them up, and you'd say, oh, my God, wow. That one felt different, though. That's the one I'd be looking at. DC Community Carrot, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, the Bills collectively fumbled Baltimore versus Lions Super Bowl predicted equals the next black quarterback, Lamar Jackson, and his play style winning on the big stage will raise Jaden Daniels' stock in the draft. I don't know. There's been this comparison that I think is false between Jaden Daniels and Lamar Jackson. There's only one Lamar Jackson. To me, the only two guys that are even in that same conversation are Michael Vick and Lamar Jackson. They're in a category all to themselves. There's no other quarterback that belongs in the same breath with those two. Nobody else in league history has ever been able to do what those two have done from the quarterback position with that kind of athleticism and that kind of arm talent and the ability to hurt you either way. There's no other quarterback. Jaden Daniels isn't going to run a 4.3 anything. I can tell you that right now. He's not running a 4.3. Michael Vick was a 4.3 dude. Lamar Jackson's a 4.3 dude. Their quickness is off the charts. That's not what Jaden Daniels is. Just telling you that right now. So he's not Michael Vick. He's not even remotely close to Michael Vick or Lamar Jackson. I don't think his arm talent is anywhere near those guys either. Especially Vick's was flick of the wrist. 50, 60 yards, flick of the wrist. Lamar isn't that talented in terms of arm talent, but he's got plenty of arm talent to get it done, right? Drops down, throws from different angles. Now, this whole narrative of him maybe changing the way people view the quarterback position, I think that has already happened. That shift has already taken place. Just look at the NFL, look at the quarterbacks, look at how they're viewed now, look at what teams are going after in the draft. There was once upon a time where guys that looked like Jaden Daniels, that looked like last year's number, 4 pick overall, Anthony Richardson, when guys like him were looked at as, hey, man, maybe you should think about playing tight end. They told Lamar Jackson, maybe you should think about playing running back. Those conversations don't happen anymore. They're looking for guys like Anthony Richardson. They're looking for guys like Jaden Daniels. They're looking for guys that can potentially be the next Lamar Jackson. There just isn't a next Lamar Jackson, at least not anybody that I've seen come remotely close with that skill set. But I'll tell you this, him winning a Super Bowl it won't hurt. It'll change a lot of people's narrative because there are a lot of people that said Lamar Jackson will never win a Super Bowl. He can't do it from the pocket. Well, I'm watching Lamar Jackson do it from the pocket. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Definitely see what happens. Christopher McLaughlin, my guy Chris, double up, thank you for doubling up, who writes, hey Lou, curious your thoughts on what coaches beside the DC for the Eagles will be replaced, the Cowboys and Eagles, with their performances in the playoffs. I think they're going to replace both coordinators in Philadelphia. They've already moved on from Sean Desai, the defensive coordinator, as you mentioned. I think they're going to move on from Brian Johnson, the offensive coordinator, as well, and probably have to replace both of those gentlemen. As far as Dallas is concerned, they're probably going to move on. Remember, they didn't have an offensive coordinator, technically. Mike McCarthy was calling the plays, so that's going to continue. And they're going to move on from their defensive coordinator. He's going to try to go get a job. I think he overstayed his welcome. He should have left when the going was good, and he stayed one season too long. Now, I think, look, if you were interested in Dan Quinn before the Green Bay debacle, you're still interested in him. That's not going to change. One game isn't going to change your perspective on him, but it does cool off. It does cool off the hype that was surrounding him. So I think this is his best opportunity now, given that he missed those opportunities in past years where teams were salivating over him. But I've said this is the best year to need a job. There are a lot of jobs. There are a variety of jobs, and there's some really good ones available this year, intriguing ones, to say the least, available. And this is the best year in terms of the candidacy pool. I mean, Vrabel and Belichick and Harbaugh and, all these offensive-minded guys, where you're talking about Ben Johnson or Bobby Slowick, or now the offensive coordinator in Cincinnati is getting a lot of play. And so when you look around and you got defensive guys like McDonald and Raheem Morris and Dan Quinn. And so, I mean, this is a really deep pool of candidates, and it's going to be interesting to see what ultimately happens. But I don't see Dan Quinn being back. So Dallas will have to replace their defensive coordinator, and I think the Eagles will have to replace both offensive and defensive coordinator this year. And what I'm hearing is that they never wanted Nick Sirianni to go outside of the organization for their defensive coordinator, which is what they did with Sean Desai. They wanted to promote Denard. I think he was a former Patriot defender. He's like their secondary coach, DB coach or whatever. Denard Wilson to defensive coordinator. So maybe that's what ultimately happens now. If he's still there, we'll see. But it'll be interesting to see what those two teams do. It's sort of like damage control. I'm not worried about Philly anymore. I think that window is closed now. They had their little run these last 2 years. Dallas will be interesting because their defense was built to perform under Dan Quinn. Now somebody has to come in there, take those same pieces, bulk up the run defense. Obviously, they've been getting gutted this season against teams that can actually run the football. And now you're going to have to take those undersized pieces and all those guys that fit Quinn's scheme, and now you got to make them fit somebody else's scheme. And that's going to be interesting to see. Their defense could fall off the face of the earth just like that. For as bad as they were before Quinn got there under Mike Nolan, they could go right back to being how they were then, because they went from that to Dan Quinn's unit that was really good the last 3 years to now they could potentially be going back to where they were when Mike Nolan was there if they don't do this correctly. So it's going to be fascinating to see how all of this transpires for both teams. Gignac the Big Mac, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Burrow never number one or number two, better QBs in this playoffs. Oh, I disagree with that. I'm not seeing that. A healthy Joe Burrow is probably the second best quarterback in the NFL. And again, here's my proof. This is what I always go back to. Joe Burrow has been in the NFL for 4 years. Joe Burrow has been hurt on the bookends, his first year and his last year, right? The 2 years in the middle when he was healthy, Super Bowl, Now they lost, but went to the Super Bowl, went to the AFC Championship game. So essentially what I'm telling you is if Burrow is healthy and he finishes the season upright, at a bare minimum, they're in the AFC Championship game. Until that changes, and I've watched this man go on the road, beat Mahomes, right? I've watched this man, go to Buffalo and beat Josh Allen. I've seen this man go to Baltimore and beat Lamar. All these quarterbacks that you say are better than him, I've seen him go into their building and beat them, okay? Mahomes has never come into Cincinnati and beat Joe Burrow, not once. And he's gone to Kansas City and beaten him already and almost did it again last year. And if Joseph Osai doesn't have that stupid personal foul penalty, they might have beat him in overtime that game. So I beg to differ, but that's a different discussion for another day. You need a healing. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, McDonald head coach for real. Defense is killing these offenses. A lot of people are feeling that way. Not I, although I will say I'm intrigued. But look, I have a philosophical approach. I have philosophical beliefs, and my beliefs haven't changed. We're going out. We're going to add a young quarterback. If you're adding a young quarterback, the best thing to do is marry him with an offensive-minded coach that will allow him to grow and flourish and not have to worry about losing a coordinator and having to learn a new scheme of verbiage, et cetera, et cetera. I just don't want to have to go through that. If I can avoid it, that's what I want to do. And I would much rather have a situation like Mahomes or like Burrow has in Cincinnati with Zach Taylor, where the offensive coordinator is there. He's not going anywhere. If you got to find a different defensive coordinator, so be it. That doesn't affect your quarterback. I just want the best situation for the young quarterback to have moving forward. And I think that happens with the offensive-minded guy. Again, I don't want to get stuck on that and miss out on an excellent head coach because I'm so worried about, marrying a young quarterback with an offensive mind. Like they've said, Adam Peters said, it's not about offense or defense. It's about the right guy. I'm all for it. Make it happen. I think Ben Johnson's the right guy, right? But we'll see, we'll see. D Moore, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. D Moore writes, hey Lou, what's up D? Hope all is well. Likewise, Matt LaFleur, D'Amico Ryans, Kevin Stefanski are my list for 4 coaches of the year. I think that is a great list. I would add in Todd Bowles and Dan Campbell. That would complete my list of candidates. Nobody had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, even though their division was trash. Nobody had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning that division this year. If it wasn't going to be New Orleans, which I think most people had winning the division before the season started, it was going to be Atlanta. It wasn't going to be Tampa, not with Baker Mayfield as their quarterback. So he did a hell of a job. He shouldn't win. He should get some first place votes, though. But to me, Dan Campbell is the guy that I think should win it. But it's going to be Kevin Stefanski. I feel pretty confident about that. Anyway, I digress. Let's see. We got time. We got about 7 minutes or so, roughly. So we got time to answer maybe 3 or 4 questions. So let's get to the comment section and knock out a few of these if we can. RHS Chess writes, if not Ben, then I think we should go for Mike Vrabel. I think he really maximizes talent. We interviewed Extremely Buns, but not him. Seriously. Look, I think they're doing due diligence there. They needed to, interview the 2 minority candidates to satisfy the Rooney Rule. And I'm not saying that's what interviewing Eric Bieniemy was about, because they may have been able to satisfy that without interviewing him. To my knowledge, they interviewed Raheem Morris, or they're going to if they haven't already. And that's only one. I don't know if you have to do 2 for the coaching situation. I do know for any executive position, specifically general manager, you have to do at least 2 minority candidates, either 2 females or 2 candidates of color. So I don't know if they changed it to where you have to do 2 for coaching as well. If it's still 1, then they got Raheem Morris. They don't need to do another guy. If it's 2, they needed to hit somebody else up. And remember, people keep saying the Rooney Rule, but it has to be candidates outside of your building. You can't use guys in your building for the Rooney Rule. They got hip to the game because a lot of teams were just sticking their head outside their office, and the first Black, Hispanic, or Asian person that walked by, hey, you, yeah, you, me, yeah, you, get in here. We're gonna do this interview real quick. So you can't do that anymore. So that wasn't a Rooney Rule situation. I think they were just doing it out of respect. Because guess what? I don't know if y'all been keeping tabs. I have. Because I'm petty in that manner. Y'all seen any interview requests for Eric Bieniemy? Head coaching, offensive coordinator, anything. Any requests with Eric Bieniemy's name on it. I'll wait. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Gignac, the Big Mac. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Burrow loses to the Ravens when Lamar is healthy. Bills' injured D-line was dominated by Bills' O-line. Mixon ate that game, real MVP. Burrow played like ass in that AFC Championship game in 2022 and way worse in that Super Bowl. You can look at it however you want to look at it. There were games where I didn't think he played all that great, and they still won. But when plays needed to be made, he made them, right? That's what it boils down to. We just talked about it last night with Brock Purdy. He was awful in that game. He did not play well. But when they needed him the most, on the biggest drive of his career, he stepped up, made throws, put him in a position to win, and they won the game. And Burrow was doing the same thing. He was excellent in some of those games. He wasn't great in some of those games, but he did enough for them to win. And I don't think he was great against Tennessee in 2021, but they won the game, right? Ryan Tannehill was awful. He made enough mistakes. They stole the game. He wasn't great early in that game against Kansas City. They were down 21-3, but he was great in the second half. They came back and won, and he deserved to win the game. Was he great in the Super Bowl? No. Was he awful in the Super Bowl? No. Could he have played better? Sure. But with that said, they had the lead. They had a chance to win at the end. He made a great throw to T. Higgins. They took the lead, and the defense didn't get the stop they needed. And they lost the game. 2022, they went, look, no Lamar. Clearly, I think they would have won that game. The Ravens would have won that game if Lamar's healthy, but he wasn't. That's not his problem. He has nothing to do with that. Okay. They played Lamar and company early, very early, like week 2 early this year in Cincinnati. Ravens went in there and won. Burrow was still dealing with the calf injury, and they barely won that game. Barely. When I say barely, the Ravens barely won that game. But they won. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. They got it done, right? No excuses. I'm telling you, and I will argue anybody down that wants to do this. I will do it. Burrow was going in there. They started the season off 5-4 last year when they came back and won the division. They started this year 5-4, and it was a sloppy 5-4. They started the season off like 0-3 before they turned shit around. But whatever. They were 5-4, and they were ready to make that run. And it's a Thursday night game in Baltimore, and Burrow's got it going. Mixon's got it going. And they're in Baltimore, and Burrow throws the touchdown pass to Mixon. They're up 10-7. They about to do these boys. I picked Cincinnati. They were going to win that game, and then he injures the elbow or the forearm or whatever. Didn't even get touched on that play. Shit was already injured, if you ask me, but he was going to win that game. I could see the Ravens. They were shook that night. And they knew Big Bad Burrow was coming to town, and he was about to deal with those boys. But You talk about when Lamar's healthy, when Burrow has his cast and they're healthy, ain't too many dudes dealing with them. Like I said, we can go tit for tat. You can tell me he didn't play this good here or this good there. Or all I'm going to tell you is AFC Championship in 2022, Super Bowl run in 2021. That's all I'm going to tell you. This is his first trip to the AFC Championship game. Took him, 7 years to make it happen? He was the number 1 seed back in 19. Second year in the league, MVP, all of that good stuff. Mocked in his first game. Joe Burrow wouldn't let that shit happen to me, though. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Look, I'm going to ride for my guy, Joe. I love Lamar Jackson. Love what he's done. I'm rooting like hell for him to win this Super Bowl. This is his opportunity. Go get it. But I still think the pecking order is, if healthy, we're not talking about health, it's Patrick Mahomes, and then it's Joe Burrow. That's how I think it goes. But we'll see. Lamar winning the Super Bowl could go a long way in changing that narrative. He wins the Super Bowl, he hoists the Lombardi, and that will change a lot of that narrative. It'll change the whole Lamar Jackson playoff narrative. That's going to be flipped on top of its head at that point. Now he's got a Super Bowl trophy. It changes the way you look at Lamar Jackson. You can't talk about you can't win with a guy like Lamar. That's dead now. Now what you going to say? That's his second MVP trophy. Now what you going to say? He bet on himself. He was his own agent. Got a massive contract. Everything he's done has been the right thing. People criticized him for not coming back last year and said he could have played, and he did the right thing. Got to protect my long-term health. I haven't got my contract yet. Nah, I'm going to do the right thing. I got my eyes on the big picture. He wins the Super Bowl. Now we talking about a 2-time MVP, league MVP, and a Super Bowl winner. Now he goes to second on the list. You know what I'm saying? Now we can start having a conversation about shuffling the order up there. But he got to get there first. One step away. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T, here on Division Round Overtime. A couple of dandies today. Congratulations to all the teams that were victorious and are now advancing to their respective championship games. San Francisco 49ers will host the Detroit Lions. So it's the 1 seed taking on the 3 seed in the NFC. Same can be said for the AFC, as the 1-seeded Baltimore Ravens advanced over the Houston Texans. They will await the 3rd-seeded Kansas City Chiefs, who are the defending Super Bowl champions, as they look to defend their crown on the road at Baltimore next week. 3 o'clock, the AFC Championship game will take place, and then the NFC Championship game will follow there somewhere in the 6:30, 6:35 window to clean up Championship Sunday. So good weekend of football, much better than Wild Card weekend. All of the games are in the books. We now have our final 4 teams. I think we got it right. With all the teams that were in the mix, I think we got it right, although I would have loved to have seen Buffalo go at it and know that we're going to have a brand new Super Bowl winner with a quarterback who's never won a Lombardi getting it done this year. Can't quite say that that'll be the case right now with Mahomes still lurking in this Chiefs team that just refuses to die, waiting in the wings. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Divisional Round Overtime. Bills, Chiefs. Chiefs get it done yet again, 27-24 over the Buffalo Bills. Another heartbreaking, excruciating loss for the Bills against this Chiefs team in the postseason, this time at home, as Patrick Mahomes gets his first career playoff victory on the road. Wow. Chiefs back in the AFC Championship for the 6th consecutive season. It's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Until next time, you guys take care. God bless and good night.